Alright, running inequality for each graph. So we have this 3 is where the circle's at, so I'd use a variable to put opposite the 3, and this is anything bigger than 3, so then x, it eats the variable, okay, with the line under it. Okay, then negative 5 going this way, so I put x, negative 5, and it's going this way, so it has to eat the negative 5, because that means negative 5 is as big as it gets, so we don't eat the x. Okay. That means x is smaller than anything, negative 5 is bigger than x, so it goes this way. Okay, next one. Got these 2 points here, and anything in between. So the in-between part, I put x down one time, I put negative 3 on one side, 5 on the other. So remember, the highest number we eat, okay? We do not eat the lowest number. We eat the x in comparison because x is bigger than the negative 3, but it's smaller than the 5. Okay, number 4. You got 2 and 10. So you got x with 10 and x with 2. So going this way, it has to eat the x because that's bigger than 10. Going this way, we eat the 2. And then we write or in the middle and they go apart like that. Gotta know the rules. Okay. Solve the inequality. You graph your solutions and label your graph. So we have 2x plus 1 greater than or equal to negative 3. Okay, so it's one circle, so I make the number line. Now make sure your x is just on one side of the symbol, and it is, and it's got 2 operations. Mark them. It's got times and plus. If you have times or divide, you want to circle that. So what's our plan of attack? Well, we're going to minus the outside number. When we add or subtract the outside number, the sign will not change. Okay. And after that's done, we'll be dividing by the 2. Okay, because opposite times 2 is divided by 2. Now, is that 2 positive or negative? It's positive, so we will keep the sign the same. Okay. When we do that. So first I have minus 1, 2 times x, negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. And then you divide by 2. You have x, and then negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So negative 2 is your critical number. You circle, you fill it, eats the x, so eating the x goes this way, and then there I have it. Okay, number 16, we got 18 greater than or equal to negative 2x. So again, just one symbol with the x on this side. Only one operation is happening on that side, and there's nothing between the 2 and the x, so that's a times. Now, like I said, you want to highlight your times or division with a circle. So there is no outside number to add or subtract. We just divide by negative 2. Now inside that circle, that's a negative, so we will be switching the sign. Okay. So that's a switch. This is a keep because that's positive 2. This is a switch because that's negative 2 because we have to divide each side by negative. So you have x, and 18 divided by negative 2 is negative 9. Eating the x, so eating the x takes the possible values for x this way. It could be like negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, and then it just goes on and on. Okay, number 7, x minus 3 is less than or equal to negative 6. Okay, so x is on this side of the inequality. Now, it only has one number, so that's one operation. It's a minus 3, so it's a plus negative 3. So I don't have multiplication or division, so I just circle the x. Okay, so we take out the outside number. The sign never switches when doing that. So plus 3, and I'll have x, and then negative 3. Now you're good. So it's eating the numbers, so that would be this way. Okay, number 8, 5x minus 7 is greater than 8x plus 2. Well, I got x's on each side, so we got to take care of that problem by adding or subtracting so the sign won't change when I do that part. So I pick one of the x's, I'll get rid of the 8x. So 5x minus 8x is negative 3x minus 7, and then we have 2. Okay, now x has two operations on its side. Two numbers means there's got to be two operations, so it's times and minus. Minus is plus negative. Again, I'm going to say that again. If you see the multiplication or division operation, you want to highlight it. Now, what's the two things we have to do? We have to take out the outside number. The sign never switches when you take that out because that's adding or subtracting. Now, inside is multiplication. It's a negative number, so we have to switch the sign, okay, when we do that. So first I take out the negative 7, so I add 7, that's 9, and then negative 3 times x. Now when I divide, I'm dividing both sides by a negative number, so I have x and then negative 3. So I circle, I don't fill it, it eats a number, so it's headed that way. X is all values in that direction. Okay, number 9, we have negative 2 times the parentheses x minus 8, that's 1x plus negative 8, is less than 16 plus 2x. Now, I need to apply the distributive property. Okay, when you apply the distributive property, you're not doing it to both sides, so the sign will stay the same when you do that. So negative 2 times 1x is negative 2x. Some of you are like, oh, you're multiplying by negative. Yeah, but it's not on both sides. Okay, so that's 16. See, the other side is unaffected by that. Okay, now I have x's on opposite sides, just like I did up here. I'll take out the negative 2x this time. So I would take that out by adding 2x. So I have 16, and then I have 4x plus 16. Alright, so x is over here. Two operations with it. You got a times and a plus. Highlight the times. Okay, so there's two operations. There's an outside number we have to subtract. Okay, sign never changes when you're dealing with that outside term because that's just adding or subtracting it. Then we're going to have to deal with the 4 inside. It's a times 4. It's a positive 4, so we're keeping the sign the same when we divide by 4. Okay, so minus 16, that's 0, and then you have 4 times x. Now you continue the process. You have 0, and then x. 0 divided by anything, 0. So you have 0, you don't fill it, eats the x, so eating the x goes this way. Okay, number 10. X divided by 3 is less than or equal to negative 12. So here's the x side of things. Just one number to find. And the operation we have is division. So like with times, you want to highlight your division. So there's not an outside number we have to take out by adding or subtracting. But there is that divide by 3. Now, you treat dividing just like multiplying as far as the keep and switch. That's a positive, so we will be keeping the sign the same. When I multiply, it will be each side, but it will be by a positive number. So we have x. Negative 12 times 3 is negative 36. Okay. Circle, fill it, eats a number, so that would be this way. Okay, next one. X divided by negative 2 is greater than 10. So here we are. X is on the left side, only on the left side. One operation, it's division. You want to highlight that. Okay, there's no outside term that you need to add or subtract. So you go inside, you see a negative, so you have to switch. That's why I highlight those multiplication divisions, so I see right away, do I have to switch that? Okay, I will because it's a negative. Because when I'm timesing, I'm multiplying each side by a negative number. Times 2 gets rid of the divide by 2, and I have x. 10 times negative 2 is negative 20. Circle, don't fill it, it eats a number, so that's this way. Okay, number 10. You have 3 less than or equal to 4x minus 5 less than or equal to 15. Okay, when we have compound inequalities, we need to set up a table. And since those are inequalities, we will then do our number line after the table has been completed. Okay, so I put the inequalities. Now, some people are going to ask, don't you flip it on this side? No, I put what I'm given. The flip is with the absolute value ones. Okay, so on one side we got 3, and on the other side we have the expression 4x minus 5. Then on this side we have 15 and the expression 4x minus 5. 15 is over here, 4x minus 5 is here. So 4x minus 5 is included in both of my inequalities. Okay, so x is on this side. What are the operations? You got a times and a minus. Okay, so we have to take out that number being added. The sign never flips when you do that. Now inside the circle is a positive times number, so that's keeping. Okay, keeping the sign the same. If that was a negative 4, I would flip it. So plus 5, 3 plus 8 is 5 is 8, and then you have 4 times x. And you divide each side by your 4. The sign is not changing because we're dividing by a positive. And there we're at 2. Now let's go over here. It's the same thing. Times and plus negative. Always highlight the times. Okay. So we're going to take out the outside number, leaving the sign the same. And then the inside number is a positive. Okay. So that's a keep. So get rid of the plus 5. Plus 5, so 4 times x is 20. And we divide each side by a positive. So we have x and 5. So we have 2 and 5. So when I look at the x and the 2, it's eating the x, so that's this way. When I look at the x and the 5, it's eating the 5, so that's this way, and it makes a between. So I put x, don't write them separately when they connect. Okay, you put x, you put the lower here, the higher here, you eat the higher, then you eat the x. Okay, that's how that's written. Okay, number 11, we have 6x minus 1 less than negative 7, then 2x plus 1 greater than 5. So again, the two symbols, you want the table, okay, and since they're symbols, you want the number line at the end. Okay, so on one side I see I got to put 6x minus 1 is less than negative 7. On the other side we have 2x plus 1 greater than 5. Now let's plan ahead here. Plus negative, plan ahead. What I mean by plan ahead is set up the signs. You're going to take out the negative 1, the sign won't switch. Then you're going to divide by the 6, the number in there's a positive, so you're keeping the sign the same. So plan ahead. So add 1, so negative 7 plus 1 is negative 6, then 6 times x. Divide each side by your 6, and you have x and negative 1. Okay, x is on this side, so plan ahead. You have times and plus. When you take out the plus 1, you will not have to switch it. When you take out the times 2, it depends if that's a negative or a positive right there. See, if you circle it, you'll be able to see it and see the number you're looking at. That's a keep because it's positive 2. So I minus 1, 5 minus 1 is 4, then 2 times x. And when you divide, you're dividing each side by a positive. And we have x and 2. So we have negative 1, positive 2. Okay, so negative 1 you circle. Eats the number, so that's this way. 2, you're eating the x, so that would head this way. Then that's an or. Okay, so on the ors, the ones that go apart, you just copy your answers. Okay. Okay, now we get some absolute values. Now an absolute value becomes a compound inequality. You need to make your table. Okay, and since the inequality is there, you'll need to graph afterwards. Okay, so the inside of the absolute value function is x plus 3. Okay, you write that expression on each side. Then you remove that and replace it with d. Okay, so this is out and d is in. D less than 5. Okay, so pretty much d is solved for. You just have the value of 5. Okay, I mean d doesn't have any operations on its side, so it's just 5. Now I use the given symbol with the 5, and then I flip the symbol when I do the negative 5. Okay, because an absolute value of 5 could be positive 5 or negative 5. Okay, now only one operation, it's a plus, so I just circle the X. You don't have multiplication or division, so when you take out the plus 3, the sign stays the same. So it's going to be 2. Likewise over here, you just have the plus operation. There's no times or divide to the X. Okay, so when I take out that, the sign stays the same. So negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. So I have 2 and I have negative 8. Okay, so with the 2, the sign eating the number, now with the negative 8, it's eating the X. So those go in towards each other. The circles are not filled because I don't have the lines underneath. Put X, negative 8, and 2. So eat the 2, eat the X. Okay, number 13, we have the absolute value of X minus 4 greater than or equal to 2. Now again, with that absolute value, you're going to need the table. Since you have an inequality, you'll need a number line with it. So copy the inside expression on each side of your table. Now remove the absolute value and bring in D. So you have D and 2. D doesn't have any operations, so that's good. I can just use 2 and negative 2. Now I use the given symbol on the 2, and then I flip it on the negative 2. Okay, the only operation is a minus, so plus negative. There's no times, there's no divide, so I just circle the X by itself. When I take that out, the sign will not change. I add 4, and 2 plus 4 is 6. Sign will not change. I add 4, I add 4, and then negative 2 plus 4 is 2. So you have 6, you got 2. So I circle, I fill it in. Okay, so with 6, you have to eat the X. Okay, it's eating the X, so it goes this way, and with 2, it eats a 2, so it goes this way, and that makes an OR, so I label them separately. All right, number 13. Solve the equations. It's another absolute value. You're going to make a table, but you don't need a number line because it just says equals. Okay, so once we get these answers, they're discrete, they're done. Okay, so inside, X plus 4. Now, remove that whole function with D. D has no operations on its side, so I can just use 6 and negative 6, and I'm just going to use an equals to sign. Okay, well, just have a plus 4. You don't have to worry about the sign flipping. Okay, just take out the plus 4. It's just an equals, so you minus 4, and that's 2. Okay, then over here is the same way. Okay, just a plus operation, so I just circle the X, so I minus 4, minus 4. Negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10. All right, number 14. We have 4 times the absolute value of 2x minus 3 minus 1 equals 12. Now, you cannot distribute. It is not a parentheses. It's an absolute value. So to solve those equations, you want your table. It just says equals, so I don't need the number line. So within the expression, I have 2x minus 3. Now, we remove the absolute value, but D is going to have operations with it. It's multiplied by 4, and then we have a minus 1. So what we need to do is solve for D. We have times and minus. Highlight the times. We take out the outside number. It's just an equals, then we'll divide by the 4. Don't have to worry about the switch keep because it's not an inequality. So plus 1, that's 12. Then I divide by 4. We have D and 3. So 3 is the absolute value, so you go 3 and negative 3, and again it's just an equal, so you don't have to worry about the sign. Okay, so 2 operations on the X side. You got times and minus. Highlight the times. Okay, so you take out the negative 3, then you divide by your 2. So add 3, you get 6, Then you divide by 2, you get 3. Okay, over here, you got times and minus. Okay, highlight the times. Got 2 steps, so you got to take out your -3. Then you have to divide by your 2. It doesn't matter if that's negative or positive because it's just an equal sign. So +3, 0. Then divide by 2, and if it's 0, it's 0. X and 0. Okay. Okay, story problems. Story problems, you won't have to worry about the sign switching. In a community garden, you want to fence in a vegetable garden that's adjacent to your friend's garden. You have 42 feet of fence. The width of the garden is 12 feet. Write and solve an inequality that represents possible lengths to your garden. Now, the inequality means you need a greater than or a less than sign. If you have something, it's less than. Okay, that's on the board for those in class. 42 feet is how much you have. Now, what are you going to do at the 42 feet? You're going to put it around the fence, the outside. Now, there's 2 lengths and 2 widths, so that's 2 times L plus 2 times W. Now, one of those letters has to be replaced. It would be the 12. That's your width. So replace your W with 12. And when you replace that, if it's got a times, you want to circle it, and 2 times 12 is 24. So now we have 2 times L plus 24 less than or equal to 42. Okay, so L's over here. I solve for an L just like I would any other variable. It's got times and plus, highlight times, so we have to take out the plus 24. And then we have to divide by 2. Since that's a positive 2, we will keep the sign. If it was a -2, I'd switch it. So you subtract 24. And then 2 times L. 42 minus 24 is 18. Then you divide by 2. And you have L, 9. Okay. So you got 9, you circle, you fill it, eats the numbers, so that would head this way. Label it. Okay, next problem. To earn a B in your science course, you must achieve a test average of 86. This is your goal. You scored 86, 85, and 80 on the first 3 tests of the grading period. Write and solve an inequality that represents scores you can earn on the 4th and final test to meet your goal. So an inequality needs a greater than or less than sign. Goal, write your greater than or equal. Your goal is 86. How are you going to get 86? Well, you're going to calculate the average. It's when you add up the numbers, divide by how many there are. So, I know you only see 3, but there's actually 4 because you're going to take a 4th one. So 86 plus 85 plus 80 plus X. Now simplify that. You can't divide because you don't have that X value, but you can at least add the 3 you've already taken. Okay, 251. And that's what you write. Now remember the rule, when one whole side is divided, you want to put a parentheses around that, okay? Because you do your operations kind of the opposite way. You need to get rid of your divide by 4 first, okay? So I'm going to times by 4. That gets rid of the divide by 4. Now, I'm timesing each side, but it's by a positive, so the sign will not change. So X plus 251. And over on the other side, you take 86 times 4. 344. Now, all you have to do is take out your positive, okay? And when you add or subtract, the sign doesn't change. Only when you multiply or divide by a negative. X. That's going to be 93. So you got 0, you got 93, you circle, you fill it, eats the X, so that would be this way. Okay, number 17. The length and width of a piece of metal can vary by at most 0.5 centimeters from the desired amount. The desired length is 16 inches and the desired width is 20 inches. Write inequalities that represent the range of the length and width. Okay, So a range is a little different. You actually start with your number line. And smack dab it, you need 3 points. Smack dab in the middle is what your length is supposed to be. 16 is supposed to be the length, okay? The width is supposed to be 20. Now we take that 16 and we add and subtract a number that's known as the variation. So variation is 0.5, okay? That's the number you add and subtract, and it's for both of them, okay? So I take that 16, I add 0.5, that's 16.5. Then I subtract, and that's 15.5. So take out your 16 now, you don't need that anymore. And there's your graph. Now you just have to write the inequality for the graph. So L, you have 15.5 as your lowest, 16.5 as your highest. You eat the highest, then you never eat the lowest. You always eat the L. Okay, then your width, you take your 20 and you have the same variation amount for each of them. Okay, so 0.5. So I add, that's 20.5. And then I minus, and that's 19.5. So I make the connection, I go W, 19.5 is on this side, 20.5 is on this side. So you eat the higher, then you eat your variable. Okay. Again, that's what you do. The main key is to know when the sign flips. Okay, it's when you have multiplying or dividing with a negative number. When you're multiplying or dividing each side by a negative number. If you make the wall and look at your operations, you'll see that, because if you have times by a negative, you know you're going to flip it. If you have divide by a negative, you know it's going to flip.